right, folks, welcome back to the Todd Starnes Radio Show. Good to have you with us. Look, we've been really concerned about what's been happening with the Republicans up on Capitol Hill, specifically the 10 Senate Republicans who have agreed to join Democrats in a bipartisan gun control legislation plan. And it's not looking good. The biggest concern I have surrounds the red flag law component of all of this. I want to go to the Patriot Mobile Newsmaker line. We're honored to have with us Congressman Greg Steube from the great state of Florida. Congressman, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Am I right to be concerned specifically about the red flag component of this gun control legislation?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it completely violates our constitutional rights, not only of due process, but under the Fourth Amendment to the Constitution that prohibits illegal search and seizure. If somebody wants to take your property, law enforcement has to get a warrant from a judge to take your property. With these red flag laws, the way the Florida works, it's a law enforcement officer, but the way the bill that the Democrats authored in the House started, it was counselors, it was teachers, it was family members, it was a whole litany list of people who could say, you know what, I don't think Greg should have a gun, I don't think he's safe, and have your guns taken away. And that is an unlawful seizure of your personal property without a warrant, without probable cause, and without a judicial proceeding.
And look, we have seen this happen just recently. That there was the guy in Virginia who raised concerns at the school board meeting. Yet the next thing you know, he's under investigation by the FBI. They're confiscating his weapons, and he's done nothing wrong.
Yeah, and Democrats call us domestic terrorists. So there's not too far removed a situation where suddenly, people are like, oh, Greg Steube made all these conservative comments. He's a domestic terrorist. We should take his guns away. And the next thing you know, law enforcement's knocking on your door to take your gun away without a hearing. And the way it works in Florida is there's no due process on the front end, and if law enforcement takes your firearm, you have to hire a lawyer to go before the court to request an order to get your guns back. And that's not the way the framers of our Constitution envisioned the Fourth Amendment against illegal search and seizures. Firearms and ammunition is your property, and the government should not be taking your property without probable cause and a warrant from a judge.
So what was your reaction when you saw that 10 of your fellow Republicans on the Senate side said, you know what, yeah, we can go along with this?
Well, it's really disappointing, and the challenge too is we haven't seen this language. They've just kind of agreed in theory to these several different points. So I'm curious to see what the language actually looks like. If you look at the red flag language in the House, it started with all these litany list of people that could take your guns. What ended up passing was family members, people in the home. So let's say a husband and wife are getting a divorce, and one side or the other wants to make it difficult on that person and take their guns away. Now you have a divorcing party taking their guns away. Now you have roommates in an apartment situation having the ability to take their guns away. And so it'll be interesting to see what these 10 Republicans are okay with on the red flag issue. My guess will be they'll do it similar to what the legislature did in Florida a couple of years ago, which when I was in the state Senate I voted against, would only allow law enforcement to do it. But we have Baker Act proceedings, at least in the state of Florida, I don't know how other states work, that would give law enforcement the ability to do that. And you can change it so that you're not taking away people's rights. So if you believe I'm a threat to myself and others, and law enforcement believes that, go to a judge, have probable cause, get a warrant, and then have the judge have the law enforcement officers have a warrant under the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution to take my property. Otherwise, you shouldn't be able to do it.
On the Patriot Mobile Newsmaker line, Congressman Greg Steube out of Florida. Congressman, we have a report up on our website from Gresham, Oregon, where a pro-life center was firebombed. There have been attacks on Christian ministries, pro-life groups all over the country. Churches have been desecrated. And now we're hearing concerns that, that there could, in fact, be terrorism, domestic terrorism, once Roe v. Wade is officially overturned.
They are posting flyers around Washington, D.C. right now calling for, I think they're calling it the Night of Rage, after Roe v. Wade is overturned. So I firmly believe that Washington's going to turn into a completely overrun mob rule type environment when that happens. If you right now, and I was over there yesterday, if you go anywhere by the Supreme Court, there is tons of security, wire, like fencing up to where you can't climb it, people all over, security all over, in anticipation of this. If this would be in reverse, if these were Trump supporters that were coming up to the Supreme Court, you would have a totally different outcome. These people would be thrown in prison for conspiracy, but you have a completely weaponized and politicized Department of Justice who's not even enforcing the law when a U.S. Supreme Court justice has had his life threatened and attempted to be assassinated, and they're still allowing all of these protests in front of Justice's home, which is in current violation of the law, and they should be held accountable, and this DOJ is doing nothing about it.
And again, it's not just going to be D.C. They're going to be coming after everybody, and especially in the major urban centers. And to your point, I appreciate that the Supreme Court is surrounded, and it's like Fort Knox over there, but they're not going to be trying to burn down Fort Knox. They're going to be burning down businesses.
Yep. If the BLM riots and all of that is any indication of what's to come in all these big cities, especially here in Washington, I think that's exactly what's going to happen, and what's going to be very interesting to see what this administration's reaction to that is going to be. And my guess is it's going to be just the same as it's been to the protests at the Supreme Court Justice's house and everything else, where if it's left-wing, violent domestic terrorism, they don't care about that. They're going to turn a blind eye to that. If it's conservatives that are doing that type of activity, they're going to be held in solitary confinement.
I'm curious your thoughts here as we ramp this up, Congressman. You had David Axelrod, very prominent Democrat, saying that he doesn't think Biden may be up for a second term. You've got Don Lemon openly asking the White House press secretary whether or not he's up for the job. Are Democrats, are they finally seeing what we all are seeing, or is this just a matter of trying to survive the midterms?
I think they're realizing that Biden is a huge liability to them, not just in the midterms, but in this next presidential election if he decides to run again. So they're trying to hedge against that because they know that people are going to be going to the polls in November, and now primaries are happening in some of the states today. They're going to be going to the polls in November, and Biden is going to be on the ballot. And people are going to vote because inflation is at record highs, gas prices, Afghanistan, Ukraine, the invasion that we have on our southern border. And the American people don't support these far left-wing policies, and it's going to be retribution for them at the ballot box in November.
All right, Congressman, good stuff, and we appreciate you alerting us about this night of rage. I mean, that ought to be a national news story, and this is the first we're hearing about this, so we appreciate you bringing that to our attention. I don't think we posted the flyer yet. We'll post it on my Facebook and Twitter. I would love to see that, and we'll get the word out as well. Congressman, be safe, and God bless.
Thank you. You too.
All right, Congressman Greg Steube.